All right, let's talk about something that can be a real headache, homeowners insurance. You know, a big storm rolls through, your roof takes a hit, and suddenly you're in a battle with your insurance company. It can seriously feel like you're playing a game, but you don't even know the rules. Well, in this explainer, we're going to give you the playbook to actually win that game.
You know, it really all starts with what experts call the no reading problem. And it makes sense, right? Who has the time to read through dozens of pages of dense legal text? Most of us just sign on the dotted line, hoping we're covered. But that one little shortcut is the source of so much frustration when a claim gets denied.
And here's where it gets even trickier, because it's not just about not reading the policy. There's a deeper issue here, what you could call the no understanding problem. This means that even if you're one of the few who actually sits down and tries to read it, you still might not be able to figure out what it all means. So what's really going on?
So first things first, let's be clear. The insurance company probably isn't trying to trick you, at least not intentionally. The reason these documents are so ridiculously complex is that they're a product of the legal system. They're built to be defended in a courtroom, not to be easily understood in your living room.
And this quote kind of reveals a wild paradox. Insurers use all this complicated, super precise legal language because they're terrified of ambiguity. Why? Well, because if a court finds that a part of the policy is unclear, the decision almost always goes in favor of you, the homeowner. So over the years, every lawsuit and every new regulation has just added another layer of dense, protective language.
And if you want to know just how bad this no understanding problem is, get this. A University of Michigan study found something pretty shocking. They gave one group of people their insurance policy to read and another group nothing at all. And in some cases, the people who had the actual policy did worse at figuring out what was covered. The text itself was actually making things more confusing.
So this huge gap between what we think our policy covers and what it actually says creates this really risky thing that researchers call coverage optimism. It's that comfy but dangerous belief that, oh yeah, I'm definitely covered for that, when you're not. And that optimism can lead to some truly devastating financial surprises right when you're at your most vulnerable.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. How does all this confusion actually hit your wallet? Well, understanding your policy often boils down to just two little acronyms. But the difference between them can cost you thousands, and I mean thousands, of dollars. These are the two terms you absolutely have to know: ACV and RCV. ACV, or actual cash value, pays you for what your damaged roof was worth at the moment it was damaged, factoring in age and wear and tear. But RCV, replacement cost value, pays you what it costs to get a brand new roof with similar materials. The difference between these two is absolutely massive.
Let's just walk through this quick example. Say your roof has $10,000 in damage. Simple enough. With an RCV policy, you get the full $10,000 to do the repair, minus your deductible, of course. But with an ACV policy, the insurer might say, well, your roof is 15 years old, so it's depreciated by $5,000. Just like that, they're only giving you $5,000 for a $10,000 job. That's a $5,000 hole you now have to fill out of your own pocket. Okay, so policies are confusing, and the stakes are really high. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but you don't have to be. There is a simple 3-step game plan that you can put into action the second you think you have damage to your roof. First, document everything, and I mean everything. Get up there if it's safe and take tons of high-quality photos and videos. FEMA themselves say this one step can dramatically boost your chances. Second, call a pro for a roof inspection. This part is non-negotiable, and you'll see why in a minute. And third, file that claim right away. Don't put it off. These policies have strict deadlines, and if you miss them, your claim could be dead on arrival. And look, this quote from a homeowner named Joe just nails why step 2 is so critical. You just can't see tiny hail impacts or shingles that have been lifted by the wind from down on your lawn. Without an expert actually on your roof, you're basically flying blind, and you could be leaving thousands of dollars of covered damage on the table. Which brings us to a really crucial idea. Look, when that insurance adjuster shows up at your door, remember, they work for the insurance company. They represent their interests. But here's the thing, you don't have to face them by yourself. You can, and you absolutely should, have your own expert in your corner. And this is what happens when you do. Just look at Santiago's story here. He filed a claim, and they only approved a partial repair. But then, his roofing contractor got involved, pushed for a second look, and bam, the decision was completely overturned. He got a brand new, fully replaced roof. That right there is the power of having an expert on your side. And here's the real reason this works so well.
The adjuster your insurance company sends out is a generalist. They're not a roofing specialist. A lot of the time, they're just plugging numbers into some software to get an estimate. They just don't have the years of hands-on experience that a professional roofer does.
So a good roofer becomes your advocate. They're the one who meets the adjuster up on the roof to point out every single bit of damage. They make sure the repair estimate actually follows local building codes, which is something software often misses. And if they start the work and find more hidden problems, they're the ones who file the supplementals to get that extra work covered too.
So let's bring this all home. The goal here isn't just to understand why the process is so frustrating. It's about taking that knowledge and moving from a place of confusion and feeling powerless to a place of control and real empowerment. So what are the key takeaways here? First, just accept that your policy is a complex legal document. It was designed that way. Second, you have to know the difference between ACV and RCV. It's critical for your finances. Third, when damage happens, remember the three-step plan. Document, inspect, and file. And finally, maybe the most important move you can make, partner with an expert roofer to level that playing field.
Because in the end, it all comes down to this one question. When that disaster strikes, is your insurance policy going to control you, or are you going to control your claim? When you're armed with the right knowledge and a clear strategy, you don't have to be a victim of the process. You can take charge and make sure you get every penny of the protection you've been paying for.